Will the energy crisis lead to an economic collapse? So I've done some videos already about what I see is the great inflation bull market, the commodity super cycle, high energy prices for this decade to come. And to be honest, Chris McIntosh is one of the best in the business at this, and I owe him big time. And I did this video, Silver, Gold, Base Metals, How to Profit from Net Zero, where I went into a lot of the science around net zero, around the whole climate movement. I shared a whole heap of scientists that you guys should check out, read their books, read their literature and all the studies. I shared some documentaries to check out, but I don't want to rehash that in this video. And as I said, I've talked about the commodity super cycle. So I'm not going to go over all that stuff again in this video. I'll put a link in the description below to these 3 videos if you haven't checked it out. I think it's very important that you do so that you understand where we are in this whole energy crisis and this whole net zero ESG movement. Because if you don't understand where we are and where we're going, it's going to impact your portfolio in a very big way. But I wanted to put this video together for a number of reasons. There's a number of breaking news and things coming out about the energy market. But the other week I listened to this podcast from Macro Voices, and we don't have time in this video for me to share any of this. All I'll say is if you want some truth bombs, like just thrown at you left, right, and center, I'll put a link in the description below. You must listen to this podcast of Macro Voices. If you want to know the truth, what's happening in the energy market, and in particular oil, you need to, you just need to, even if you're not, this is going to impact everybody. It's going to impact what central banks do. It's going to impact what governments do. It's going to impact your cost of living. It's going to impact your portfolio. Go and listen to it, friends. All right, first things first, Russia replaced Saudi Arabia to become India's second biggest oil supplier. From trade sources, Russia is making more money than ever from oil. Thanks, Western countries. And look what's making a comeback. Making coal history. In case of emergency, break glass. Well, guess what? We've got an emergency, and guess what governments are doing? Oh, and Germany to take emergency coal measures. Now, we'll come back to Germany in a minute. And actually towards the end of this video, because there is some breaking news and some shocking news and a very big warning. So stay tuned to the end of the video. Now, have a look at this chart. Can any of you work out what this chart is? What is this chart? I can tell you, because of this chart, I had my best performing asset in the last 2 years. Any guesses? Well, if you can't guess, then you need to watch this video that I did. $2 million profit on this commodity trade. I bought I'll just tell you, it's coal. It's coal, good old coal. I bought Peabody in late 2020, sold it in late 2021. I made a cool $2 million profit on that. Got a 10x return on that stock. I don't own Peabody anymore. I've sold that. Got a few other coal stocks. One I bought at 1.8 times earnings. Another one I bought, and I just got a 56% dividend yield based on my buy price. All those other stocks, coal stocks that I own, have gone up about five times, about 5x on average, but I haven't sold them. They're just producing too much free cash flow, and as I just said, huge dividends. Why would I sell them? And here, how Australia's second richest man may succeed in closing down coal-fired power stations early, and why it could push up your energy bill even more. I've been blocked by this man too. People will soon be left with the choice. Do I pay my mortgage or electricity bill? Australia, We're the smart country. And hear from Peter Thiel. Now, I've talked about Alex Epstein before and his book, Fossil Fuel. In fact, Fossil Future, sorry. He's actually written a number of books that I highly recommend. But Peter Thiel said this: the climate debate ignores the reasons we burn fossil fuels in the first place. Alex Epstein reminds us that rich countries may be able to treat green lifestyles as luxury fashion, but for much of the world, reliable energy is a matter of life and death. So true. But here in Australia, we're the smart country. Gas cooking and heating could soon be phased out in Victorian homes in a bid to reduce the state's carbon footprint. And, what's this? Australian energy prices keep on climbing. For a country that is rich in resources, we should be an energy superpower. We should have the cheapest energy in the world, but we don't. We have the most expensive. And even the Origin Energy CEO says that we need to get coal power plants working again. But are we? Continuing to bet down on renewables is akin to doubling down or a martingale strategy. It would be a great idea if the technology worked, i.e. it could replace fossil fuel usage and not materially change our standards of living. But physics dictates that it cannot. Yet the renewable or green ideology, I call it a religion, is so strong that doubling down on the technology will continue, and the energy crisis that is beginning to show is just the start. And this is why it's going to impact your portfolio, and why stay tuned to the end of the video, where we'll discuss some opportunities to do well and exploit this. And from Money Week, the front cover is out of luck. Why Australia's long run of good fortune is over. And there's the boxing kangaroo being knocked out. So true. What I'll do, I'll cut to a little video that was done several years ago from some comedians who I've been watching my whole life. Just a short little clip. And you guys know I'm a free market guy. You can see where these guys are going. But I think it's pretty funny and sums up the Australian energy situation.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be with you, Brian. Good evening.
Now, you're a consultant in the energy market.
Yes, indeed. That's what I do.
Now, we've got a crisis in energy, haven't we? The Prime Minister's been waving a yellow card all week.
Well, Brian, we do face some significant issues with the energy market. I think that can be said.
Yeah, but I thought we had gas and electricity coming out our ears.
Yeah, we do, Brian. But I don't think it's any secret that we're confronting serious challenges with the energy market.
Well, let's talk about this energy market.
Well, in Australia, you buy energy on an energy market. You're either buying it at a spot price or you're buying it in terms of a longer contractual agreement, Brian, with a supplier.
But didn't all the energy in this country, wasn't it owned by the Australian people?
Yeah, we fixed that.
Well, it was all owned by governments. I mean, they built it with our money.
Yes, that's right, Brian, but it was hopelessly inefficient, and a few years ago, a lot of it was privatised.
Who said it was hopelessly inefficient?
The people who wanted to buy it, Brian.
How'd they sell that idea to the people who already owned it?
Well, it was obviously going to result in lower prices to the consumer, Brian, because there were so many other players coming into the market.
More electricity producers?
No, more billing companies, Brian. But the key element was choice. They were being offered a greater choice.
Choice of what?
Choice of what?
Yeah.
No, the what's were exactly the same, Brian. The choice was in who you could buy them from.
So who bought the infrastructure?
Well, a lot of that is still government-owned. If you take the state of Victoria, for example, still government-owned.
Owned by the Victorian government?
No, owned by the Singapore government and the Chinese government, Brian. But to answer your question, it's still government-owned.
So why did the prices go through the roof? I mean, what happened when they removed the carbon tax to lower prices? What happened?
What happened to prices?
Yeah.
Well, they doubled, Brian. But, of course, that's only going to affect you if you're buying energy.
But isn't that what people are doing, buying energy in the market?
Well, yes, theoretically, Brian, but you can only buy it if it's there. You can't buy it if it's not there. And remember, a lot of these outages have occurred at times of serious, extreme weather events.
Yeah, but wouldn't an extreme weather event be a fair test of the system?
Yeah, we don't have a system, Brian.
We have an energy market.
We've got an energy market.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's gas got to do with this?
Oh, gas is important because the job of the regulator, Brian, when demand goes through the roof, is to generate extra capacity using gas.
How do they do that?
Well, they don't, Brian. They can't. They haven't got any gas.
But we export billions of dollars of gas.
That's right. But by definition, that's exported, Brian. That's gone offshore. We need some of that gas here.
But they get a better price for exporting
They get a better price here. It's a market, Brian. This is part of the problem.
But surely all this operates in around government policy.
Oh, yes. There's overarching government policy.
Well, tell me, what's the government policy?
Well, oh, goodness.
What happened there?
Well, just wait till the lights come on, Brian, and then perhaps ask me that last one again.
Which one?
The one about government policy. I'll try and imagine there is some.
And when I saw this in the Courier Mail, energy crisis in Queensland, the state of Queensland where I'm from, sun tax hit looms for solar customers. And when I read this, straight away, you know where I'm going with this, don't you, folks? Tim Hawkins. Everyone knows Tim, yeah? No, you don't? The government can. Who can tax the sun? The government can. If you don't know who Tim Hawkins is, you're about to find out.
Hey everybody, gather round. I'm here to give you anything you like. You want free college, energy, mortgages, whatever you like. You have come to the right place. Why? I'll tell you why. Who can take your money?
Who can take your money?
With a twinkle in their eye.
A twinkle in their eye.
Take it all away and give it to some other guy. The government.
The government.
The government can.
The government can.
And who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the trees?
Who can tax the trees?
Let you run a business and collect up all the fees. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make to pay for all of their solutions. Healthcare, climate change, pollution. Throw away the Constitution. And who can give a bailout?
Who can give a bailout?
Tell us to behave.
Tell us to behave.
And make the founding fathers roll over in their grave. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make. They're power hungry and malicious. Their economics are fictitious. Soon we'll have to eat our dishes.
Delicious.
Oh, who can be a failure
Who can be a failure?
in so many ways?
In so many ways.
And instead of getting fired, hey, we'll give ourselves a raise. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they make it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
And your Uncle Sam can, 'cause he mixes it with lies and makes it all taste good.
Makes it all taste good.
And it feels so good, 'cause the government says I should.
So Alan Moran, who is an energy economist and actually is one of the very few economists in Australia who are an Austrian economist, understands Austrian economics, shared this Spectator article that Professor Ian Plimer wrote. And once again, I recommend people read Professor Ian Plimer's books. Asks, how did an energy-rich and energy-exporting country blessed with hundreds of years of coal and gas and thousands of years of uranium end up with an energy crisis? Answer, politicians following advisors who invented a climate scare. And Alan again, opposition leader Peter Dutton said Labor was transitioning to renewables too quickly. He and other politicians still don't realise that the transition itself, slow or fast, brings increased prices and less reliability. And coming in from the Telegraph in the UK, global spending on coal projects is expected to surge. The world is moving away from fossil fuels, they told us. Well, if nothing else, rolling blackouts and soaring fuel costs have exposed that idiotic lie for what it is. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime for Australia if we drop net zero. But the question is, will we? And from Michael Schellenberger, many people think solar panels are sustainable, but the vast majority of them require 300 to 600 times more land than conventional power plants. They're made by people there, in there, and contain toxic elements that won't be recycled. So we're trying to save the climate by destroying the environment. Really makes sense to me. And Germany warns of a Lehman-like contagion from Russian gas squeeze. They're warning that Russia's moves to cut Europe's natural gas supplies risk sparking a collapse in energy markets. Global energy crisis equals global inflation. And we're in the clown world for sure. Los Angeles may ban new gas stations to help combat climate emergency. Oh, the West. We are just self-destructing. Self-destructing. And from the national broadcaster, ABC News, wind turbines bound for landfill because of hefty recycling expenses. Once again, we're destroying the environment to what? Protect the climate? Clean energy, hey? Windmills, EVs, and solar are an environmental disaster. Do you understand this? Oh, what's a picture of that? What is that? What could it be? And here in France, electric car cemetery, now designated a biohazard zone. Doesn't that just look fantastic, guys? Wonderful for the environment. Look at that. Beautiful. Stunning. Look at that natural beauty. I hope through this video you can see or hear my sarcasm in my voice. But the real question is, are you going to eat the bugs? I won't be. Will you? All right, so how to play it? Well, check this out. Warren Buffett is buying oil stocks. Recently bought $26 billion worth of oil stocks. And if you are on Twitter, check out this thread because it indicates why the best is yet to come for oil and gas equities. So I found this a very interesting chart. Now, there is talk, and to be honest, even Art Berman said that if central banks do raise rates quite high and they do create demand destruction and we go into recession, we're probably already in a recession, but we start to see higher unemployment and people cutting back on spending, then we could see oil prices drop for a period of time. Won't be long though. But here, we'll look at free cash flow. So even at $70, $70 oil, all right, so we're above 100, 110. Even if we get back to 70, that's a 33% price drop. And here Eric says that's not their base case, and that's not mine either. Yeah, I could see oil falling to maybe $90 or $80 in this recession. And it could be very short-lived, mind you. You guys know my position throughout this decade. Oil, coal, natural gas, the hated energy sources are going to remain elevated because of the capex and the investment, the supply side. And physics, economics says we need it. We can't get rid of it unless we all want to... I can't even use the word on the tubes. But anyway, the average energy stock is now trading at a 16% free cash flow yield. And at 75% of free cash flow to returns, could still pay a 12% dividend. So, oil, for me, I already own oil stocks, not adding to them. But if there is this demand destruction and the price of oil gets smacked down a little bit, and those oil stocks get smacked down, well, guess where I'm going? And I'll be using options for that. So once again, I just recommend you guys check this video out. But how I'm playing it right now, I'm short the market. I'm short more iron ore stocks and some financials. But what I will do is, if there is this demand destruction, which I think there will be, I think the play from US dollars into Aussie dollars will work out for reasons I explained in my last video. But I will be selling naked puts on stocks in oil, coal, gas, uranium, nickel, aluminium, phosphorus, copper, lithium, cobalt, silver, zinc, gold for other reasons, but all those metals. So both the traditional reliable sources of energy that, as much as the Western world want to kill overnight, just basic economics say they can't. But they're going to double down on the rebuildable energy. So you want to have investments in that sector to make that. So for me, I'll sell naked puts to enter these positions. And yeah, I'll write out of the money calls on those ones as well. But that's how I play it. That's how I play it. So if you haven't yet watched this video, $2 million profit on this commodity trade. Yeah, it's about coal. But I share how I've moved into oil stocks and why I moved into some oil stocks. By the way, those oil stocks that I did buy into are up quite a bit as well, and paying really good dividends. So, it's really a simple game. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. I expect some volatility in the months ahead. I do believe that here in Australia, the RBA will stop raising rates first. I think the Fed will raise a lot higher than where the RBA will. I think we're going to see some problems in the Australian housing market with that. I think some banks become a little bit dicey, and central bank, our RBA, will have to support the banking system, which I think will lower our Aussie dollar. I think our Aussie dollar is going to fall significantly, and CPI inflation is going to get out of control here in Australia. And I think that's going to be good for those of us holding commodity stocks, holding gold, especially in US dollars. So I think it's all going to play out quite nicely, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Love to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit that like button, guys. Really do appreciate it. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all again on another episode of Finance Uncut.